A silence for the people in Oregon, and then we'll go right into the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the consent agenda this evening, all items listed with an asterisk will be considered enacted in one motion. There will be no further discussion on those items. At this point, is there anything that anyone would like to add to the consent agenda?
Mr. President, I'd like to add items A1 and D1 and 2 to the consent agenda.
Anybody have a problem with that?
Trustee Reinke, what was that again? Which ones?
A1 and D as in dog, 1 and 2.
We've discussed D1 and 2 several times,
right,
and A1 as well, so I don't have any issues with that. Anyone?
I was considering adding F1 as well.
All right.
Good with that.
With that, I'll entertain a motion. A motion to amend the consent agenda to include the board minutes from September 15th, 2015, the bills list from October 6th, 2015, Planning and Zoning Committee, Mr. Car Wash Site Plan Amendment, 12D License and Ordinance Committee, New Massage and Body Work Approach License Amendment, and 12D2 New Business License Ordinance Amendment, and also F1 Public Works Committee, WWTP request for engineering, and F2 purchase for a wheel loader truck.
So moved.
Second.
It's moved by Trustee Carbonaro, seconded by Trustee Daney. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Daney?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
REINKE?
Yes.
Kemmerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
That motion carries. I entertain a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Kammerer, seconded by Trustee Carbonaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Hopkins?
Yes.
REINKE?
Yes.
Kemmerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next active item we have on our list this evening is the 2015 Pride and Ownership Awards. As many of you know, every year the village sponsors a Pride and Ownership contest. Many nominees are sent into the village, and then there's some discussion, and we come up with some winners. There's 3 categories for the Pride and Ownership contest in the village here. There's single-family home, multifamily home, and commercial properties. This program was started in 1996 to recognize owners who did an outstanding job in maintaining their property. The village calls out for nominees at the beginning of the summer every year. Volunteer judges visit all the locations that are nominated, and at that point they're evaluated by general appearance, landscaping, curb appeal, and creativity. So we have 3 single-family, 2 multifamily, and 1 commercial winner this year. And the first one that I will call out for the single-family first place home is Miss Kim Ash at 100 North Hale Avenue. And I'm not sure if all these folks are here, so if not, we'll have to see if somebody can pick it up for them. Second place for single-family home, Mr. and Mrs. Rusewicz at 477 Harvard Lane. Rusewicz? Nope. And third place, Ms. Madeline Haney at 104 North Hickory. We have 2 awards for multifamily homes. The first is Vanguard Community Management, Asbury Place Subdivision. Is there anybody here from that location? There we go. All right. So. Place for a multifamily home, we have Mr. and Mrs. Molnar, 193 C. Thomas Court. And finally, under commercial category, we have one winner, and that is Horizon Realty Services, Inc. at Bartlett Town Center. Item 10 on our agenda this evening is question and answer time for the board. At this point, does anybody have any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll move on to the town hall portion of the meeting. During this portion of the meeting, if anyone would like to address the board, we ask you to step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record at this point, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening. Gary Place, 128 South Hickory. I have a couple of things I wanted to bring up, both of them actually related to the same perceived problem. One of those is the constant parade of dump trucks that are now running through town. We see them coming north on South Bartlett Road, turning right on Devon, and moving through constantly. I have a little show and tell here. This is a bolt that I picked up in the tire of my car coming through Devon and Maine. Cost me $32 to get that thing taken out of there and the tire repaired. That looks like a truck bolt to me, not like a car bolt, and I think that's where it came from. So I don't know what can be done about that constant traffic. I know we've put up some 12,000-pound limit signs elsewhere in town, but it doesn't exist along that route. And the trucks are a problem. They've got to cause damage to the streets over the course of time, and they're really just continuous. The other item, another encounter that I had, again with a truck. In this case, it was at on Lake Street at Park Avenue, which I know part of that is Streamwood, but part of it is still Bartlett there. I was attempting to make a left turn from Lake on to Park, and as I was waiting for traffic to clear, the light changed, and there were 2 oncoming vehicles coming westbound. One of them was a car, the other one was a pickup truck. The car came to a stop. Pickup truck never even hesitated. He swerved around the car, came through the red light. If he had lost control, he would have creamed right into me. But as it was, he didn't lose control quite. It was quite a swerve that he put in there. This kind of disregard for the traffic signals, especially with vehicles like that, is a problem. And I'd just like to suggest that the village might look into another alternate method of increasing finances by putting in a red light camera in a couple of these spots where the trucks and other vehicles frequently blow the stoplights. seen it over and over and over again myself. So I'd just like to make that little suggestion to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pleiss. I know it's not the first time we've heard the dump truck issue, and I believe, Chief, can you kind of address what we've attempted to do a little bit as far as checking?
Yeah, we've researched it
And also,
extensively. None of that truck traffic is doing anything illegal. They're staying to Cook County routes. They're designated truck routes. As a matter of fact, the trucking companies, they have a Garmin in their trucks that give them all the designated most direct routes, and that's what they're utilizing is direct legalized trucking routes. It's very frustrating for the village of Bartlett because it comes right down Stearns and then comes northbound on South Bartlett Road and then turns on Devon and then heads all the way out Devon through Hanover Park. And it'll be bad for a while because of the Elgin O'Hare expansion, and the gravel needed to put down the bedding in order to lay down the asphalt, and the gravel's coming from our town and a quarry west of us, and they're using the most direct routes. We've talked to the county to try and change those trucking routes, and they're just not interested in doing that. As a matter of fact, they say truck routes are important for commerce and the delivery of services and goods, but in the meantime, it's frustrating to the village of Bartlett and the Bartlett Police Department. I can tell you we've stepped up our efforts. We stop them on a regular basis. We've been working with the Illinois State Police to have designated truck weigh route dates where we pull them all over and weigh them all. To date, they really are in compliance, but my officers are also out there targeting that route on a daily basis, looking for loose gravel on the bumpers or anything like that they can stop and cite. However, they know we're doing that. And so they're very, believe it or not, they're very stringent with the trucks they send out, and we've been pleased with that. But in the meantime, it's intimidating to local drivers to have all these dump trucks coming back and forth, and it really is, as Mr. Pleiss so well said, it's a perceptual issue that where'd they all come from and they don't belong here. And while I can totally empathize with that perspective, because they're not usually here and they are here, I have to be honest with you, they're not doing anything illegal, and they are using the most direct dedicated routes.
has there been any talk at all about potentially lowering the speed limit for certain weighted vehicles? Would that deter them from
And
taking?
again, that would be a county issue on those roads with those, and we've talked about all our options with them,
Okay.
and they're actually proponents of that route for them.
Yeah, because they don't live there.
They don't live there, so they see it as a benefit.
So what would it take to change it? We would have to go to the county board members and basically
That's correct.
try to get them to change their mind or vote in favor of changing that.
Yeah, and
route.
we have served as the advocates to do that, and they're just not willing to play on this issue. They as a matter of fact, they are proponents of truck traffic, and they see it as healthy for growing commerce.
I just can't imagine it being more than a couple minutes faster than going 59 to 20.
I could agree with you, and I do agree with you. It's just it's not most direct, and not that is even an issue. Even if it wasn't, it's legal. We can't
Yeah.
stop them for being there.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Anybody else like to address the board at this time?
Joan Pleiss, 128 South Hickory Avenue. I too have had some issues with trying to turn onto Park Place when you have all of this traffic that's coming. And I've had 2 incidents where I just stay in the left lane and wait until the light has changed to red and has been red for a bit, and then I'm able to make my left turn onto Park. Same thing with Oak. If you are trying to head into Bartlett from Oak and Lake, and you're in the left-hand turn heading west, again, they're blowing the stoplights. And one of these days, there's going to be a major accident, I'm sure. Already we know that a dump truck spilled its load. And what if a car had been next to it? Because that is 4 lanes there. They would have been crushed. The other thing is today, going to the grocery store, I see dump truck after dump truck on Lake Street, and they are all with no covers on. Loads of gravel, and they're not even covered. I talked to a woman at the senior center who said she had a ladder fly off a truck right into her. Fortunately, it had already hit 3 other vehicles before it approached her, and when it approached her, it hit the ground and she ran over it instead of it coming directly into her windshield. So those are just a few of the things I think might help us if we could get cameras to photograph all of these vehicles that are blowing the stuff, and they have no intention of stopping. You can tell that. They're 18-wheelers. There's no way they can stop on a dime. I know that. But they're not even about to stop at all. They goose it when they get close to that light turning yellow, and by the time they get through it, they've gone through the red that's been red for a while. So just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you, Joan. Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next portion of our meeting, which is the standing committee reports. First standing committee report is Planning and Zoning Committee, Chairman Reinke.
Thank you, Mr. President. All the items were addressed in the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Reinke. Next standing committee report is Building Committee, Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. There's nothing to report tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Next item on our standing committee reports is the Finance and Golf Committee, Chairman Daney.
Mr. President, we have no report this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Daney. Next item on our report is License and Ordinance Committee, Chairman Aaron's. Both items under Chairman Aaron's committee were put into the consent agenda. Next item we have is Police and Health Committee, Chairman Carbonaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing to report this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Carbonaro. Next item under standing committee reports is Public Works Committee, Chairman Kammer.
Thank you, Mr. President. All items were covered under the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Kammer. Next item we have on our agenda this evening is new business. Is there any new business that anybody would like to address this evening? I guess just one thing that I would mention, Chief, have we exhausted all measures on these trucks coming through? Is there any other things that we can attempt to do? Because I've had 2 neighbors come to me with the same thing. As you know, I live pretty close to that area. So
Yeah, I can tell you we've written multiple citations. We've talked to the companies themselves. And other than stepping up aggressive patrol, which we've already done, there isn't a whole lot. We are writing citations. We're writing overweights. We're writing unsecure loads citations. The tarp issue is a tough one. It's only required to be tarped when it's considered unsecure, and gravels by the courts is considered heavy, and not unless it's so full that it's coming over the top, which we rarely see. But yeah, it's frustrating. Gravel does damage, especially when it gets loose and bounces on streets, and it does cracks windshields and scratches paint and all those type of things. So we've been stopping all of them that we can find, anything that's loose, and issuing citations. But I can tell you it's hard for us to do things that towards others who aren't breaking the law.
Sure.
And it's a fine line there. It can't be perceived as harassment either.
Right. And the other intersections that were mentioned this evening, I know there was a pretty bad accident at Park and Lake.
Yeah.
That teacher, the music teacher.
Yeah, I wish I was taking notes and saying I didn't know those. We write thousands of tickets up there a year. It's a dangerous road, and it requires steadfast enforcement just to keep it in line. But it's a lot of trucks and a lot of traffic, and I don't see a lot of blatant red light violations, but you see them from time to time, and we write those tickets obviously when they're brought to our attention, or with a complainant, or when we see them, and we're up there all the time looking for them. So,
Okay. Anybody have anything else? New business? Hearing none, we'll move on to questions. Any questions for the staff at this time? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We'll be moving directly into the Village of the Whole committee meeting this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Cameron, seconded by trustee Daney. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Cameron,
Yes.
Carbonell,
Yes.
Daney,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Ranky.
Yes.